Okay, plug in your Predator XS system into a 120 volt, 15 amp dedicated power source. On your control panel, you turn your power to the on position. Make sure you pull out your emergency stop button. Next, we want to go through how to load a roll of film onto the Predator XS. Take the roll of film, set it on the mandrel. Make sure it's down all the way. I like to pull off about an arm's length worth of film. Next, you come over to the safety door, open it up, take your film. It just ends up laying right across the rollers like you see here, but the one roller you have to go around is your dancer bar. Let it come right out. Then you're going to close your door. Then you just pull the film out to your package. Tie it on. Now I want to go through all the controls buttons on the main panel here. Start at the bottom here. You have your power. This is in the off position. Simply flip it. Now you are powered on. But until you have your e-stop pulled out, you do not have power to the drives, to the PLC, or anything else. Emergency stop will turn off the power to the drives and the PLC. Film force dial, less and more, sets how tight you want to make the package. Not your stretch, but how tight you want to make the package. Less and more. Turntable speed. All the way towards clockwise at more is your 100% speed of the turntable. Unstable loads, light loads, you can turn this down so film doesn't pull the product off and the product itself doesn't fall over. Carriage up and down speed. More speed, less speed, but what you're setting here is you've got 20 inches of film. And every one rotation, you'll see 20 inches, 20 inches, 20 inches. Do you want 50% of it overlapped? Do you want 10% of it overlapped? You're setting this carriage speed so that you're getting your film usage throughout the middle of the package. Turntable, auto and manual selection. If you want to wrap something and you want to do all the counts manually by yourself, you hit the start button. Turntable will start rotating until you hit the emergency stop. That's the only thing that will end that cycle. Turn it back to auto. Pull out your e-stop. You will have to reset it and hit start. That brings the turntable to home so that you're ready for the next auto cycle. Film carriage has a manual up, an auto, and manual down function. Now if I want to get the carriage to run manually down, I've got it in manual down position. I do have to hit the start button on every manual function. So I hit the start, and that carriage will run until this limit switch senses it's at the max down. That shuts off that particular push of the start button. I'd have to hit it again to get it to keep moving, or hit the emergency stop to shut it off. But if I want it to go manually up, I have to hit the start button again. That brings it up until the limit switch. The photo eye will not work if we're in manual up. Only the limit switch. If I'm in auto, now the photo eye will run and run and run and look for the top. If it never gets unblocked because the package is so tall, it will trigger when it's at its maximum height here. Okay? One little thing that you need to know about manually running the carriage. You cannot do it when your wrap mode is set to up only. That is in the program. You have to be in up-down to make the manual functions of the carriage work. All right. Top and bottom wrap counts. All you're setting here is when that photo eye or the limit switch reaches the top, how many rotations will the turntable do before it sends it back down? Our standard for top wraps is 1, 2, or 3 counts at the top. More can be specified and put into the program, and these labels can be changed. Same thing with bottom wraps. When the carriage reaches the bottom limit switch, we've got it programmed for 2, 3, and 4. If you need more, you need less, just ask your sales rep. It's just how many rotations will that turntable do before it stops in home. Now the modes. You have wrap modes and a reset mode. So you have up only. When you hit the start, carriage will do the bottom wraps first. When the bottom counts are complete, the carriage will rise according to the speed, and the photo eye is going to look for the top of the load. Once it senses it's at the top of the load, carriage will stop, and then your top wraps are going to be applied. Once the top wraps are complete, the film puncture probe comes out, turntable does its stop, and it is done. So it wrapped at the bottom, wrapped at the top, stop. It's a wrap up only mode. But if you want to do an up-down mode, same thing, starts at the bottom. Bottom counts are applied. Once the bottom counts are complete, the carriage rises, looks for the photo eye to be above the package. Once it senses it's no longer got a product in front of it, carriage stops and the top wraps are applied. Once the top wraps are complete, it sends the carriage back down until it reaches the limit switch. It does one rotation so it can pick up home and do a deceleration mode so it can do the film puncture and tear. That's your cycle. If for any reason you stop the load or stop the cycle in the middle of a package, you hit reset, select reset mode, hit the start button. The carriage will find home, the turntable will find home, everything goes to home. At which point you will select your wrap mode again, attach your film to the load, and start wrapping your next load. Now I want to talk to you about select stretch on our system. We have 2 different stretch percentages. You have indicator lights here to tell you which stretch level you've chosen. This is our standard, 200% and 250. Customer can request and get different size sprockets for that. All you have to do is, again, take this little wing nut off, loosen up the one on the back side, pull the cover off. It gives you directions on how to do it on every machine, but all you have to do is push and lift till you feel it lock. Now you should be able to see that it's changed from 200 to 250%. If you buy a different film, now you're back to 200. All right, we've discussed select stretch. Also with this system, you will be able to control how much tension you want to place on the load. You have a film force potentiometer, and when you're setting it towards less, you're putting less force. More speed, but less force. As you turn it towards more, you have a very stable, hard load that you want to hold tight. Turn it towards more and it'll take that film and make it tighter on the load. All you're doing while the machine is running, you'll see as the film pulls the dancer bar, it starts driving the system. How fast that feed rate is going to be is determined by where you set this. The photo eye, which is used to sense the package height, you have very few adjustments, but on the photo eye itself you have a sensitivity adjustment. We generally like to set this photo eye so that it picks up the package just slightly past the middle point of the turntable. If you set it to see too far back, if somebody parks a forklift over here, the carriage height will continue to go and go and go until it gets above the forklift instead of your package. To set your sensitivity, I usually have one person stand on the turntable, and you turn it clockwise to sense further, counterclockwise to sense a little bit less. Once you have your sensitivity set, you'll run a couple cycles, and if your package height is right here, the photo eye is blocked and it comes up and then it keeps going and it stops up here, but you want it to stop here. You have 2 adjustments for it. we put this photo eye on a little channel here so that you can slide it up and down to set your overlap on the top. Any more that's needed for certain customers, you have to open your control panel door, open the little tab here, and if you'll notice, there are two trim pots. One's labeled 0 on the right hand side here, and then one on the left. Trim pot 0, you can adjust that clockwise for more time. It goes right into the PLC's program and changes the time value. So you'll actually get above the package and go longer or further with a clockwise turning of this dial. If you're going too high, you don't like it, turn it counterclockwise. And that is all the adjustments for the photo eye. Another item that can affect how well the film performs, not just in pre-stretching it, but in tensioning it, we do put some pressure on the film mandrel. There is some pressure being applied to this, and how it's done is by adjusting this collar, and there's a spring hidden underneath here. You'll see it start to pop up. The spring is here. Right now it's easy to turn. As I take this and I start pushing down, I start compressing on how well this can spin. So all you have to do is tighten it down, give yourself some brake force on that film. Now the more force that you put here, the better the film will follow the speed of those rollers. We do have an option for films that are really a high slip, so that they don't just slip across the rollers and their customers losing money, where we literally have a spring that's thicker, taller, stronger for more adjustment. At the end of each cycle, the film puncture probe will extend out, put a hole into the film, and tear it away. Okay, the first wrap mode we're going to use is the up and down mode. We've got our film attached to the pallet. All I have to do is hit the start button. The cycle starts. Okay, so as you saw on the up-down mode, does the bottom wrap counts first. Turntable prox is doing its job, the carriage will start to rise up. As long as the photo eye senses that there's a load, the carriage will continue to go up until we get above the package. Now this amount of film overlap can be adjusted by moving that photo eye up or down. It also is affected by the carriage speeds, but this is up to a customer how high they want it. So the carriage will stop at the top, and then it's going to again find that turntable prox, do its counts, send the carriage back down to the bottom. Then as you saw, it goes into a soft stop, a deceleration. The probe extends out, puts a hole in the film, and then the turntable takes back off and finds home, and it tears it, and you end up with another film tail loaded ready for the next cycle, and your pallet is ready to be taken away. Next, we're going to select up-only wrap mode. What this sequence will do is as the turntable starts, it's going to do its bottom counts again first. Once the counts are complete, carriage will raise up until the photo eye is above the package. At that point, the top counts will be applied, the deceleration will happen, the film puncture will happen, and then rotate to home. When the turntable hits home, carriage is going to come to its down home position all by itself. That's the end of the cycle. All right, on a film out condition, and I want to change films. I don't want to just start the cycle over again. So I want to get the machine reset back to the home position. Flip over to reset, press the start button, turntable and carriage will return to the home positions. Carriage is now down at the bottom, turntable is finding its home position. That's your reset mode. When you want to run the film carriage in a manual mode, you always have to select up, down. Then you can select film carriage manual up. You have to hit the start. The carriage will continue to run until either A, the top limit switch has been reached, or if you hit stop. Pull your stop back out, select film carriage manual down, hit your start. Again, the carriage will run until the limit switch is hit, or you hit the stop button. Just a manual function. If you have the film carriage in the auto position, but you just want to rotate the turntable, flip it to manual, hit the start button, the turntable will continue to run until you shut it off. So you can lay film on with a hand wrapper. Okay, press the stop, turntable goes to a stop. This is where it's nice to have your reset mode. Put the turntable back to auto, your carriage is in auto, you hit the start, everything will find home. As you can see, the carriage didn't move because it's already at home, turntable will go to its home prox. If there's an object underneath the carriage, the safety switch will automatically stop the machine and turn power off to the drives. In this case, we had a roll of film that was laid underneath the carriage, keeping the machine from completing going to the bottom. In order to remove the object, you will have to remove the Lexan cover. There are 6 screws. You cannot get to the safety switch without taking this cover off. Remove the cover. The first way to correct the error that somebody has caused is to trigger the safety switch by pushing the lever in. Right now I have power back to the machine. I select a manual up. I can turn my speed down a little bit if I want, but I have to hit start. Come on down here. Because I'm holding the switch, it'll allow it to start coming up. Then I stop it. Then I just stop it and remove the object out from underneath the carriage. At this point, I can put the cover back on and reset the machine.